heard my son crying in his sleep, mumbling something about the man in Daddy's window. When I asked him the next morning, his answer froze me in place. He watched you while you were sleeping. We live in a quiet suburb just outside of town, the kind of neighborhood where people still wave from their driveways and forget to lock their doors. I moved here with my son Ethan after the divorce, hoping to give him some kind of stability. He's 5, bright kid, talks a lot, sometimes too much. It started one Wednesday night in early fall. I had put Ethan to bed around 8:30, same as always. He wanted his nightlight on and his door cracked open, the kind of cold that doesn't belong inside a house. I sat up, confused. The bedroom felt off. Still, I reached for my phone and checked the time. 3:17 a.m. I tucked him in, read him a dinosaur book, and kissed him goodnight. I went to my room across the hall, popped in my earbuds, and watched a few YouTube videos before eventually falling asleep. Somewhere around 3:15 a.m. I woke up to cold, not just chill. My heart started hammering, but I told myself it was the house settling, maybe the wind. That's when I noticed the sound, a faint, almost imperceptible creak, like someone shifting their weight on an old floorboard. I froze. I reached over to turn on the lamp and that's when I saw it. I walked over and shut it, double-checking the lock. I peered outside, but the yard was empty. No signs of anything. Still, I didn't sleep much the rest of the night. My bedroom window was open, only a few inches, but it had definitely been closed when I went to bed. I always lock it. Always. I stood up slowly, goosebumps crawling up my arms. The next morning at breakfast, Ethan looked tired. "You okay, buddy?" I asked, pouring milk into his cereal. Quiet feet, like someone practiced at not being heard. He nodded slowly, spooning fruity pebbles into his mouth without enthusiasm. Then, as casually as if he were telling me what he dreamed about at daycare, he said, "The house was dead silent, but Ethan's door, usually slightly ajar, was wide open. I had a scary dream last night. I was in your room. His room was dark, except for the soft orange glow of his dinosaur nightlight. That made me pause. You were in my room." He nodded again. "I was standing by the wall, and a man came in your window." My stomach turned. I forced a smile. "A man?" "Yeah, he climbed in real slow. He didn't see me, he just looked at you. He stood there for a long time." He was here again. I couldn't respond, I just stared at him. Ethan didn't seem scared, he was just telling me what he saw. Then he added, he had really quiet feet. I don't know why, but that detail disturbed me more than anything. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I chalked it up to coincidence. Maybe he heard me walking around when I got up. Maybe I thought I locked the window. I tried to let it go, but that wasn't the end. 2 nights later, I woke up again around 3 a.m., heart racing for no clear reason. I got up and stepped into the hall. He watched it 3 times, then looked at me and said, "Just a flicker, a shadow, no sound, no form, but enough to make my stomach lurch." Hours of silence, nothing out of the ordinary until 3:16 a.m. Ethan was sitting upright in bed, eyes wide, breathing fast. "Buddy," I whispered, stepping in. He looked at me but didn't say anything, just stared past me toward the corner of his room. I turned to follow his gaze. Nothing was there. "Did you have a bad dream?" I asked. He nodded. "Who?" "The man. He was behind your door." I turned toward the hallway behind me. Nothing, just shadows. I checked the house from top to bottom that night. Every window, every door. Nothing disturbed. Nothing broken. So I set up a baby monitor in my room, one of those that records video and audio, just to ease my mind. That night I didn't wake up. I slept straight through. So did Ethan the next morning. While he was watching cartoons, I checked the monitor footage on my phone. At that point, the audio picked up a faint, barely there whisper, like breathing. Something brushed past the camera. The video kept recording for hours, but nothing else happened. I showed it to a friend later that day, someone who works with security systems. "This feels like someone knew exactly where your camera was." That night, I slept with the lights on. Ethan hasn't mentioned the man again, but sometimes I catch him staring out his bedroom window like he's waiting for something. But none of it makes me feel safer, because sometimes, around 3:17 in the morning, I wake up out of nowhere, and every time my window's still shut. But I swear I can feel someone standing just outside it, waiting for me to fall back asleep. I woke up to the feeling of being watched. Not paranoia, not a dream. I knew someone was there. And when I finally opened my eyes, the room was empty. I was in my bed, just like normal, except everything felt off. Not doing anything, just watching. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I remember Shadowstall, unmoving. Bad sleep, maybe stress, but the dream came back. The next night, and the one after that, like he'd been standing there for a long time. No sound, no breathing, just presence. The air was heavier, like it was thick with humidity, but my skin felt ice cold. And when I did, he'd be there. I could feel the weight of his stare on my face. Still no features, just darkness where his face should be. But I remember something, his smile. Not because I saw it, but because I felt it. I don't know how to explain it. Because when the dream stopped, the real nightmares began. I'd hear faint creaking from the hallway around 3 a.m. even though I live alone. My cat, normally lazy and indifferent, started hissing at corners of the room, backing away like something was there. I even started sleeping on the couch with the lights on. It was like he was enjoying something I didn't understand. On the other side was the man, closer than ever. I couldn't see his face, but I could see his teeth. Perfectly white. Too many of them. He grinned as if he'd finally won. I couldn't move, just stuck there, staring at the ceiling. And then I felt him. The sky was still gray. I don't know why I got up. I don't know why I walked to the door, but I did, like I was in the dream again, helpless. But the dread didn't leave. It started about a month ago, with a dream, and that smile. Wide. Too wide. Like he'd been smiling his whole life and didn't know how to stop. There was a man standing in the corner of my room. I woke up gasping. Sweat soaked my back, but my room was freezing. I laughed it off at first, and every time he got closer, I watched the camera footage over and over, but there was nothing there. No knock. No man, just me opening the door to nothing. By the third night, he was standing beside my bed. I started losing sleep. I'd stay awake as long as I could, but no matter what, I did TV, music, lights on. I'd eventually drift off. Eventually, I stopped dreaming altogether. I couldn't move. I just stood there frozen. He didn't say a word, just tilted his head like he was studying me, like he recognized me. That might sound like a relief, but it wasn't. It started subtly. My front door would be unlocked in the morning, even though I triple-checked it every night. Small, partial prints, like someone had stood just inside the doorway before turning around. The police brushed it off. Maybe a maintenance worker. Maybe I left the door open. Maybe I forgot something. And then came the worst part. One morning I woke up to find muddy footprints in my apartment. But I knew it was him. I started keeping my curtains shut all the time. I bought security cameras. But the night before he showed up, I had one more dream. This time, I was in the kitchen. I was standing at the door, hand on the knob, terrified but unable to stop myself from opening it. And then I woke up to the sound of a knock, not the doorbell knock. It was 6:12 a.m. I looked through the peephole, nothing, just an empty hallway. But I opened the door anyway. And he was there, not in the hallway, right in front of me. As if he knew I'd opened the door. As if he'd been waiting. He looked exactly how he felt in the dreams, tall, thin, pale skin like paper. Black hoodie. I couldn't speak. And then, still smiling, he turned around and walked away. No rush, no fear, like he belonged there. I slammed the door and locked it 5 different ways. It's been 3 weeks. I haven't seen him since, but I don't sleep anymore. Not because I'm afraid of dreaming, but because I'm afraid I'll wake up again. And this time, he won't be smiling. I didn't listen to the voice in my dream. Now something's waiting for me outside my bedroom door, and it's not leaving. I don't usually remember my dreams, let alone hear voices in them. But this one was different. I still remember it word for word, like it was whispered directly into my ear. Do not leave the house on the 14th. That was it, just a sentence. No images, no people, just that voice.com/low. Like the kind of stillness you get right before a thunderstorm. I chalked it up to a weird nightmare, a fluke. Maybe I'd left a podcast running in my sleep or something, unnaturally clear. Like it was being spoken through a speaker right next to my head. When I woke up, my heart was pounding like I'd just run a marathon. I looked around my room. Nothing felt off. Exactly. But there was this heaviness in the air. But then I had the same dream again the next night. The kind of cold that feels like it's coming from inside your bones. I couldn't shake it. All day at work, I kept looking over my shoulder. My coworkers noticed. I told them I hadn't been sleeping well, which was true. Same voice. Same warning. My lights were flickering, my phone had powered itself off. I even checked the carbon monoxide detector just to be safe. Everything seemed fine, but I didn't feel fine. I told myself I'd stay inside, play it safe. Just to prove to myself it was all in my head. Just down the street to the pharmacy, 20 minutes max. I made coffee, watched TV, even started a puzzle, anything to distract myself. The moment I stepped outside, I felt it lift. That heavy pressure was gone, replaced by a strain, almost hollow silence. No cars driving past, just this muted world, like the volume had been turned down. Do not leave the house on the 14th. This time I woke up freezing, even though my heater was running. The voice was closer, louder, more urgent. As I turned the last corner toward my building, I got the sense that something was behind me. Not footsteps exactly, more like an absence, a shadow that wasn't casting light. I didn't look back. By the third night, I was actively trying not to fall asleep. I started marking my calendar, watching as the 14th crept closer. When the sun came up, the feeling finally lifted. I ran out into the hallway. Nothing was there. Nothing visible. Anyway, not the front door, my bedroom door. I kept telling myself it was just a dream. A recurring one, sure, but still just a dream. Nothing real. Nothing dangerous. My cat refuses to come inside. I hear quiet breathing from the other side of the door, some nights always at 3:12. Always the same steady rhythm. like someone patiently waiting. I lasted until about 4 a.m., and when I did finally doze off, the dream returned, but it was different now. Do not leave the house on the 14th, it won't stop if you do. I stared at the door, praying it wouldn't open. The handle twitched, just barely, not turning but like something was resting a finger on it. When I woke up, the whole apartment felt wrong. The next few days passed in a blur. Then the 14th came. It was a Saturday, cold, gray, and drizzling since dawn by noon. I was pacing. By 2 p.m. I was laughing at myself for being scared of a dream, and by 2:30 I decided to run a quick errand. As I grabbed my keys, I remember this wave of something washing over me. A pull, like gravity, but emotional, like guilt or dread. The whole walk to the pharmacy felt off. I didn't see a single person, no one walking their dogs, no kids on bikes. I kept telling myself I was imagining it. I grabbed what I needed and left quickly. I got home, locked the door, tried to shake it off. But that night, I heard it again. Not the voice in my dream, the voice in my hallway. It was 3:12 a.m. I was lying in bed, trying to convince myself everything was fine, when I heard 3 soft knocks on my door. Then came the whisper, the same voice from my dream. You let it in. I couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. I stayed that way until morning, but things have been different since. Lights in my apartment flicker no matter how many times I change the bulbs. And the worst part, I started dreaming again, but the voice doesn't warn me anymore. It laughs.